Impossible objects have always fascinated me. Shapes and figures that appear 3D but couldn't possibly exist in the real world. Looking at them is mind-bendy enough, let alone trying to draw them. But today I'm going to take it a step further and animate these things. How does that even work? Let's find out. Okay, we're starting off with the Peyruis triangle, or the impossible triangle, or the Peyruis tri-bar. It's this triangular shape that looks, well, impossible. Because it is. I know how to draw this thing, I've just learned. I think we should use the line tool for this, but it's not going to be exact. So first, I can just use this tool to make a triangle. Perfect. Now, we extend the sides like this. These aren't going to be the same length or exact angle, but now we extend these. Getting somewhere. Then do a little bit extra over here and here, like that. Right now, I just connect these, and we have an impossible, a really wonky, impossible triangle. I'm gonna adjust that a little bit. Looks like a kind of normal shape, but if you try to follow it along, you'll see that it really makes no sense. And I'm gonna shade it in because that'll look better. But yeah, it's more clear that these faces couldn't really happen. So I want to animate a little ball rolling across this thing, like maybe starting down here on the light part. And then we're going to see its journey and be extremely confused. So I made this red circle as a graphic symbol, then a classic tween to move it along each segment. When it reaches the tip of the triangle, it needs to go behind it, so I made another layer and switched it over. I wasn't sure if it would be better to use no easing or have it slow in and out with each straight line. I went with easing because it just looks nicer, but it does have a lot of start-stop. Once it goes to the bottom left, it gets a bit trickier. I only realized now that the logical next face for it to slide along was on the inside behind where it started, but I had it traverse two edges to go straight to the bottom, basically skipping the medium blue portion. It does the same maneuver on the right, then comes down one final stretch to get back to the starting line. Of course, it needs to be behind the bar on the left, but in front of the bar on the bottom. So I used a well-placed mask to make that happen. Then I added some gradients to put the corners in shadow. That was rather successful, I think. It looks natural, but this is a completely impossible journey for this ball to take. Now, there's something else I want to do with this triangle. I'm gonna try and spin this thing like it's doing a 360. It's an impossible 3D shape, so I wasn't even sure this would work. But I started by flipping it and adjusting the lighting to be on the same side. For the middle frame, I figured it would be a straight vertical bar facing us, so it's just a rectangle. Now for the in-between between that and the first frame, I squashed the bar on the right a bit, while the one on the left moves across and closer to the camera. I knew the left bar had to switch to being on top of the right bar at some point, so I did that somewhere in the middle with one transitional frame of it being semi-merged. Those were the main building blocks, so it was just a matter of more in-betweens to get the full motion. But that was only a 180, so I had to spin it again using the same strategy to get the full 360 loop. And that does indeed look very scuffed, but I'm kind of surprised I managed to get a rotation going. Like, it looks like it's doing a spin. It's kind of sloppy because A, I didn't really nail down the perspective, and B, it's an impossible shape, so it's just not going to be able to spin. But let's move on to the next shape. The impossible cube has an edge in the back that somehow passes in front of an edge in the front. Sometimes you'll see two of these, and that's what I'm going to use. So I wanted to make it spin like the triangle, but this one's going to have much more clarity and look a lot cooler. First I just animated a regular cube rotating. This is one of the rare instances where a shape tween is actually useful. Although I had to do a lot of manual readjusting because some lines were spinning the wrong way. With the cube rotation done, I drew an impossible cube on top with two of the back edges passing over the front. The plan was to simply do this for every frame and see what happened. Once the cube was front facing, I had to maneuver the back left edge in front of the top front edge, but behind the left front edge. I also tried shape tweening parts of this, but most of it had to be done manually. There was a bit of messing around with the other edge as well, trying to get it to disappear and reappear appropriately. But once I had half the frames, I could duplicate those and manipulate them to complete the rotation. And I had to recolor the faces as it goes to make the lighting make sense. Kinda janky and choppy, but that's some pretty neat imagery right there. If you squint your eyes, it kinda just looks like a cube spinning around. But obviously, you look at it properly and it's kind of incomprehensible. This is what 9 of them scattered around and offset looks like. And then I made this because I thought it was even cooler. I wanted to try out an impossible oval, so I first shaded it and then added a ball. This is going to be similar to the triangle with a ball rolling around it and ending up back at the start, so nothing new honestly, but I just thought the shape would be more satisfying. I also had the oval and ball wobble in a short loop. I used a motion guide to get it halfway around, then had to put it in a layer underneath the oval so it can go behind. I made it circle around the second portion with another motion guide and fine-tuned it to roll into its starting position. So yeah, that is more satisfying than the triangle, if you ask me. The smooth object rolling against a smooth surface, very nice. Let's move on to the final object. I have saved the most intriguing object for last. Impossible stairs. I tried this one method for drawing it and totally botched it. Then I tried this other method and it seemed to work out. So now we have an infinitely descending staircase. Or ascending if you're going the other way. But I'm gonna have someone walk down this thing forever. A stick figure will do because I ain't gonna draw a full human walking at 4 different angles. So I made a short cycle that I repeated on each step and did that for each side. I eventually had a satisfactory loop, but I thought it'd be fun to have a ball bouncing down as well. At first I used these arcs as a motion guide, then remembered why that looks weird. If you make it speed up and down with gravity, it'll also speed up and down horizontally. I scrapped that and made an up-down loop inside a symbol, then moved that around the square at a constant speed. So that's pretty fascinating to look at. Again, it's pretty janky, but the point comes across. I think there's a pretty funny juxtaposition between the like clean staircase and ball, and the shoddily drawn pink stick figure. The guy's moving kind of fast as well. He overtakes the ball. And you might be wondering how the ball changes direction every corner. I guess we have to imagine there's a perfectly placed bump on the floor that just changes its trajectory. Well, I hope you enjoyed these optical illusions, and if you didn't, I'm surprised you made it this far. But have a nice day, and I'll see you next week.